Good morning, peers. Today I will be telling you about Adolf Hitler. Who and what did Adolf Hitler do? Dictator Adolf Hitler was born in Brno, Austria on April 20, 1889, and was the fourth of six children born to Adolf Hitler and Karl Pauls. As a child, Hitler clashed frequently with his emotional father, who also didn't approve his son's interest in fine arts as a career. Following the death of his young brother Edwin in 1900, Hitler became detached. He also showed an early interest in the German nationalism, rejecting the authority of Austria-Hungary. That nationalism would become the motivating force of Hitler's life. His father also died suddenly in 1903, 2 years later. Adolf's mom allowed her to drop out of school after her death on December 1707. He moved to Vienna and worked as a casual laborer and watercolor painter. He applied to Academy of Fine Arts twice and was rejected both times. Lacking money outside of the orphan's pension and funds from selling postcards, he stayed in a homeless shelters. Hitler later pointed to these years as the time when he first cultivated his anti-Semitism, though there is no debate about this account. In 1913, Hitler relocated to Minucci. At the outbreak of World War I, he applied to serve in the German army. He was accepted in August 1914, though he was still an Austrian citizen. Although Hitler spent much of his time away from the front lines, he was he was present at a number of significant battles and was wounded at some. He was decorated for the bravery, receiving the Iron Cross First Class in the Black Bone Badge. Hitler became embittered over the collapse of the war effort. The experience reinforced his passionate German patriotism, and he was shocked by Germany's surrender in 1918. Like other German nationalists, he purportedly believed that the German army had been betrayed by civilian leaders and Marxists. After World War I, Hitler returned to Minucci and continued to work in the military as an intelligence officer. Hitler joined the DAP in September 1919, often abbreviated to Nazi. Hitler personally designed the party badge, appropriating the swastika symbol and placing it in a white circle and a red background. He soon gained control of his speeches against the Treaty of Versailles, revealed political Marxists and Jews. In 1921, Hitler replaced Nazi chairman. Hitler's speeches began attacking regular audiences. Early followers included Army Captain Ernest Röhm, the head of the Nazi paramilitary organization, the SA, which protected meetings and frequently attacked political opponents. On November 8, 1923, Hitler and the SA stormed a public meeting featuring Bavarian Prime Minister Gustav Karl at the large beer hall in Munich. Hitler announced that the national revolution had begun and declared the formation of a new government. With millions unemployed, the Great Depression in Great Germany provided a political opportunity for Hitler. Germans were ambivalent of the Parliament Republic and increasingly open to extremist options. In 1932, Hitler ran against 84-year-old Paul Hindenburg for the presidency. Hitler came in second in both rounds of the election, gathering more than 36% of the vote in the final count. The result established Hitler as a strong force in German politics. Hindenburg reluctantly agreed to appoint Hitler as a chancellor in order to promote political balance. Hitler also engineered the passage of the Enabling Act, which gave his cabinet full legislative powers for a period of 4 years and allowed for deviations from the Constitution. Having achieved full control over the legislative and executive branches of government, Hitler and his political allies embarked on a systematic suppression of the renaming political opposition. By the end of June, the other parties had been intimidated. On July 14, 1933, Hitler's Nazi Party was declared the only legal political party in Germany. In October of that year, Hitler ordered the Germany's withdrawal from the League of Nations. Military opposition was also punished. The demands of the SA for the more political and military power led to the Night of the Long Knives, which took place from June 30th to the July 2nd, 1934. Brahm, a persevered rival, and other SA leaders, along with a number of Hitler's political enemies, were rounded up and shot. The day before Hindenburg's death in August 1934, the cabinet had enacted a new abolishing the office of the president, combining its power with those of the chancellor. Hitler thus became head of the state as well as head of the government and was formally named leader and chancellor. As head of, as, as head of a state, Hitler became supreme commander of the armed forces. From 1933 until the start of the war in 1939, Hitler and his Nazi Regiment instituted hundreds of laws and regulations to restrict and exclude Jews in society. The anti-Semitic laws were issued throughout all levels of government, making good the Nazis' pledge of persecute Jews, and the party came to power. In April 1, 1933, Hitler implemented a national boycott of Jews' business, followed by the introduction of the law for the restoration of which probation of civil service of April 7, 1933, which was one of the first laws to persecute Jews by excluding them from state service. This was a Nazi implementation of the Iran paragraph, a clause calling the execution of Jews and non-Aryans from organizations, employment, and eventually all aspects of public life. In April 1933, additional legislation furthering the persecution of Jews, including law restricting the number of Jewish students at schools and universities, limiting Jews working in medical and legal professions, and revoking the license of Jewish tax consultants. In April 1933, the main office for press and propaganda of the German Student Union called the Action Against the Un-German Spirit, prompting students to burn more than 25,000 German books, ushering in the era of censorship and Nazi propaganda. In 1934, Jewish actors were forbidden from performing in the field of the theater. On September 15, 1935, the Reichstag introduced the Nuremberg laws, which defined a Jew as anyone with the 3 or 4 grandparents who were Jews, regardless of whether the person considered themselves Jewish or observed the religion. The Nuremberg laws also set the forth of law for the prosecution of German blood and German honor, which banned marriage between non-Jews and Jewish Germans, and the Rich Citizens Law, which deprived non-Aryans of the benefits of German World War II and the Holocaust. The Nazis continued to segregate Jews from German society, banning them from public schools, universities, theaters, sports events, and Aryan zones. Jewish doctors were also banned from threatening Aryan patients. Jews were required to carry identity cards in the fall of 1938. Jewish people had to have their passports stamped with a J on November 9 and 10 of 1938. A wave of violent anti-Jewish programs swept Germany, Austria, and parts of the Swedenland. Nazi destroyed synagogues, vandalized Jewish homes, schools, and business, and close to 100 Jews were murdered, called the Night of Crystals or the Night of Broken Glass, referring to the broken glass left in the wake of destruction. The prominence escalated the Nazis' persecution of Jews to a high level of brutality and violence. Almost 30,000 Jewish men were arrested and sent to concentration camps, signaling more horror to come. On September 1, 1939, Germany invaded Poland. In response, Britain and France declared war on Germany 2 days later. Between 1939 and 1945, Nazis and their collaborators were responsible for the deaths of at least 1 million non-combatants, including about 6 million Jews, representing two-thirds of the Jewish population in Europe. As part of Hitler's final solution, the genocide enacted by the regiment would come to be known as the Holocaust. Deaths and mass executions took place in concentrations and extermination camps such as Bergen-Belsen, among many others. Other persecuted groups included Poles, communists, homosexuals, Jehovah's Witnesses, and trade union stoics. Prisoners were used to force labor for SSA construction projects, and in some instances, They were forced to build and expand concentration camps. They were subject of the starvation, torture, and horrific brutalities, including having to endure gruesome and painful medical experiments. Hitler probably never visited the concentration camps and did not speak publicly about the mass killings, but Germans documented the atrocities committed at the camps on paper and films. Hitler escalated his military activities in 1940, invading Norway, Denmark, France, the Netherlands, and Belgium. By July, Hitler over bombing raids on the United Kingdom with the glow of invasions. Germany formed alliances with Japan and Italy, known collectively as the Axis powers, which agreed upon toward the end of September to deter the United States from supporting and protecting the British. By early 1945, Hitler realized that Germany was going to lose the war. The Soviets had driven the German army back into Western Europe, and Allies were advancing into Germany from the west. At midnight, going into April 29, 1945, Hitler married his girlfriend Eva Braun in a small civil ceremony in the Berlin bunker. Around this time, Hitler was informed of the execution of Italian dictator Benito Mussolini. Afraid of falling into the hands of enemy troops, Hitler and Braun committed suicide the day after their wedding. On April 30, 1945, their bodies were carried to the bombed-out area outside of the ridge, Charlesary, where they were burned. Berlin fell on May 2, 1945. 5 days later, on May 7, 1945, Germans surrendered unconditionally to the Allies. Hitler's political programs had brought about a world war, leaving behind a devastating and impoverished Eastern and Central Europe, including Germany. His policies inflicted human surroundings in the apprehended scale and results in the death of 10 millions of people, including more than 20 million of Soviet Unions and 6 million of Jewish in Europe. Hitler's defeat marked the end in Germany's dominance in Europe history. His defeat of fascism, a new ideological global conflict, the Cold War, emerged in the aftermath of the devastating violence of World War II.